what are you doing and what are you like and what can you bring to the table? So think about some of those things. Other strategies to think about, applying to internships that don't get as many applicants perhaps. I'll talk a little bit about coordinated programs, although I think they've been getting a little bit more competitive during the past year. One thing that can be helpful is not limiting yourself geographically. If you can branch out a little bit, that gives you some more options. Let's see. Be sure you research program websites thoroughly. There are nearly 250 dietetic internships, and so you're going to probably narrow that down without looking at 250 websites. You're going to narrow that down by deciding sort of where you want to be and what your interests are. But do look them over carefully, and if you don't want to pay the tuition rate they're going to be charging, or it just is not a good fit for your interests, just move on and focus on other programs. So be sure you're thinking about good fits for you. Take the GRE. And also some common sense things. Make sure that anything anyone might find about you on the internet is positive. Don't lie about anything. This is all that basic stuff. And avoiding criminal behavior. Background checks are a fairly typical part of internship application processes and any work in the healthcare industry. So just keeping some details in mind. And do use the undergraduate nutrition handbook as a guide. And I think probably many of you have looked at that before. If you've not, it's under the undergraduate tab on the nutrition department website, and there is a chronological listing in the back that says, okay, when you're a sophomore, you should be doing this. When you're a junior, you should be doing this. As far as if you're planning on applying for dietetic internships, some things that you should be doing each year to make sure you've covered your bases. So do look at that. So from now until December, be thinking about what types of internships you might be interested in applying for. Most are based in a university setting, which may include some graduate credits or a graduate degree as part of the program, or they may be based in a hospital setting. So there are hospitals that sponsor internships as well. And be thinking about what your interests and career goals are too, so that you're looking at programs that are a good fit. Generalist internships, that terminology is being phased out. They're needing to select areas that they have particular strengths in. Nutrition therapy, food service systems management, community business, and there are several others. Indian Health Service or Alaska Native Culture, I think, are some newer classifications. And if you have particular interest in some areas like pediatrics, sports nutrition, public health, be cognizant of what your interests are and identify programs that are going to be able to help you meet those needs. And if you have a particular interest in an area like pediatrics, you want to make sure you're applying for internships that offer an experience in that area. And do they have a lot of variety where maybe you have 3 days of pediatrics, but you might want more depth in it, so maybe 3 or 4 weeks if that's a real strong interest area. Just as an example, all internships are required to meet the same standards, but they all have different emphasis areas and different strengths, so really looking at them from that perspective can be in your best interest. So variety, breadth, depth, and length of experiences I mentioned. And thinking about whether you're interested in one that's combined with a master's degree or not. Okay, and I'm going to skip over these fairly quickly since this will be available on video, and also I can put the PowerPoint on Blackboard too if you're interested in just flipping through the slides more quickly. But I did list a few that offer particular experiences in some areas, like food and culinary experiences, sports nutrition, medical nutrition therapy, public health and community. And some of the long-standing, strong programs, a few there. And we've had a number of students placed in some of these programs here. Predominantly in the southeast, but also we've had a few placed at Tulane University recently as well. But just FYI, and then the number in parentheses is how many students we've had placed there, I think, in the last 8-9 years. Okay. Then there are some newer programs to think about too that I'll point out. Tulane has changed, I think 3 years ago, they changed to not requiring a master's degree anymore. Used to need a master's degree in order to apply to their programs. I think they've still not really gotten the word out so much that anyone with a bachelor's degree in a didactic program in dietetics can apply. University of California San Diego Medical Center was new last year. Southwestern Dietetic Internship in Phoenix was new last year, and that one has an emphasis on Alaskan Native and Native American culture. Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois was new last year, and then 2 new ones this year, the Memphis VA Medical Center and the Solmaz Institute in Western North Carolina. So there are newer programs that are being developed, so we're not quite up to having 4,000 dietetic internship positions available, but a few new programs are slowly being approved to help out with that. Coordinated master's programs are designed primarily for students who are coming with a non-nutrition background, so that they can combine all the didactic program requirements you're getting right now with the internship piece. So that's what they're really designed for. And some internships over the last few years have converted from an internship to a coordinated program, so non-nutrition students can come in and get all their requirements in one place. And so those had been flying under the radar for the last few years. I think as of this year, I think they've been found a bit, so that may not be. That's just one other thing to look at though, because as a student completing a didactic program in dietetics, you can apply for those as well and would get credit for all these courses that you've been taking here. So your program will be shorter. So you can look at the internships and the coordinated programs both. They both would basically accomplish the same thing for you. This would also would have a master's degree linked to it. Okay. Distance internships I'll just touch on briefly. Those. It doesn't mean that you're sitting in front of your computer doing everything online. Your internship director is generally not in the same place you are. So for example, we've had several students in the Knoxville area, not just from UT, but other students from other undergraduate programs who have done distance programs in the Knoxville area. But that means their internship director is in Colorado. They go there for a week of orientation, and then they need to find their own preceptors and all their own people to work with in the local community. It's not something I encourage very many individuals to do unless you already have really strong connections in the community, or you really have no other alternatives than to stay in one area. Because I'll tell you, you need to identify all of your preceptors you're going to work with for a year before you apply for the internship for most of these programs. So it's a lot of work on your part. It's only really for self-directed individuals who can really put together a whole internship program for themselves. So it is available. It's an option to apply for, and if that's something you're interested in, we should probably talk about it some more just to make sure that's a good fit. Internship costs, they generally do not pay. There's oftentimes tuition and fees involved, and housing and transportation costs. Internships that do provide a stipend, the military has dietetic internships, and the VA medical centers, they are federally sponsored dietetic internship programs, and they do pay, but for the most part other ones don't, but may have a stipend. There may be teaching assistantships for ones that are linked to graduate programs. And most of the time, I tell you, it's challenging to have employment at the same time. Because you're typically working like a full-time work week in the internship program, so it's hard to find time for employment as well. There are scholarships available. The ADA has scholarships, state dietetic associations, local dietetic associations. The internship institutions may have scholarships as well, or student loans. Individuals enrolled in internships are, for most of them, eligible for student loans as well. So